I'm here today to give you some insights about how to optimize your AdWords campaigns using Google Analytics. So, this is the agenda. After a brief introduction, I will in the first chapter speak a little bit about how to integrate analytics with AdWords. This means really the linking between the accounts. Then in a second chapter we will look to some interesting analytics reports can be used in an AdWords context. In a third chapter, very concrete, using the analytics data, how are we going to optimize the AdWords campaigns, and then a short chapter on possible data discrepancies. And finally, in a conclusion, I will also say a few words about Google Belgium. All right. I would like, let me start to tell you that, in fact, I am, in the first place, I am a search engine advertising specialist. I'm not an analytics specialist. I'm sure that most of you actually have a much deeper and better knowledge about web analytics as myself. And you will see also that today this presentation is AdWords-centric, even though I will and this is the goal of this presentation, try to inspire you a little bit about possible techniques, possible methods on how to use analytics to eventually optimize AdWords. I'm also presuming that you all have some basic knowledge about AdWords. If I go a bit too fast on specific context, on specific concepts, don't hesitate, of course, to interrupt me. And let me also tell you, of course, that web analytics in general and Google Analytics more specifically are tools that can be used for many other things than optimizing campaigns. It is used for SEO, it is used, of course, for website optimization. We will not we will not handle these aspects. I will, like already said, focus on the search engine advertising aspect. Another limitation of this presentation is that when we talk about search engine advertising, I will specifically focus on the search network of Google, not on the content network. Most of the people know Google AdWords from the sponsored links appearing on top or besides the natural results. You probably know that there are also thousands of websites that allowed Google to publish the AdWords on specific place. I will not talk about this kind of campaigns. It's another construction of campaigns. We will focus on this, on the search network. You know, of course, the famous slide. Before we were in the green field, now we are in the yellow field. All right. So everything always starts with a query, of course, and let me, and this will be probably the only slide in which I will just look for a second to AdWords without considering analytics. Let me just stress three very important aspects of AdWords. You will understand later on in the presentation why those three aspects are so important. So first of all, like I said, everything starts with a query. First of all, there is the list of keywords. The keywords which are the potential queries on which you are emitting a bid. Like we've seen, it is you need quite complex methods in SEO to be able to appear on large amounts of keywords. With AdWords, you virtually can appear on endless amount of keywords. So this is a first way in which, like the title says of the slide, search engine advertising or AdWords is enhancing SEO. A second aspect is the targeted messaging. You've seen how complex and how, I mean, you need some quite good technical knowledge in SEO to be able, for a specific query, to let a specific content appearing in the natural results. With AdWords, again, with the quite intuitive interface, you are able to in a much more flexible way, determine which message will appear for specific semantic categories, usually are called ad groups. Like you know, in AdWords campaign exists of many ad groups to which you can link a number of different messages. And then the third aspect, very important too, you have, with AdWords, quite big flexibility on the landing page, which is the place where someone that clicked on your ad ends on your website. Okay. Now, let's imagine this is your website. With AdWords, with SEO also, by the way, what you're doing there is actually, those are traffic generating methods. You try to generate as much traffic as possible on your website. And intrinsically, and specifically because of, let me just go a second back, because of these three aspects, now I'm talking specifically about AdWords, intrinsically there is already a relevant traffic. You know that the person that ends on your website emitted a query that you introduced as a keyword. You know that he has read the message that you determined, and you know that he ends up on the page that you determined would be the page if the original query was linked to that ad group. Now, the thing is that in the end, it is you who determines those three aspects. It's you who determines the keywords, it's you who determines the content of your message, and you determine the landing page. Now, it is quite difficult to get in the head of the surfer, of the person who is doing the query, looking to your text, and ending on your website. And it is even more difficult to be in the head of thousands of potential visitors of your website. And that's why I'm saying when we talk about relevant traffic, all right, there is a presumption of relevance in AdWords, but in the end, since it's you who determines these three parameters, it is important to not only generate the traffic, but analyze the behavior of the traffic once it arrives on your website. And only then, only by analyzing this behavior, you will be able to really judge on the relevance, on the real relevance of this traffic. And this, of course, until the visit ends and the visitor leaves your website. Now, this behavior and this analysis of the traffic on your website has always to be done, let's say, with in a specific context. Every website has its own goals. And following the goals of the website, there will be a different ideal behavior, let's say it like that. So the metrics you're going to use to analyze this behavior will be different in function of the goals of your website. And like that, we can roughly identify three big categories. Of course, there are many more, of, let's say, of goals of websites. You have the typical e-commerce website you want to sell. So you're going to look to metrics, typical metrics like what is the return on investment by product or by keywords, what is the geolocation of the buyers, which can be some strategic, interesting information to know. Are the visitors coming back to my website? How many transactions are there per visit? So those are typical metrics you use to analyze the behavior of the traffic on an e-commerce website. Then there are websites that can be named lead generation websites. And there again, you have specific metrics. You can look to how many users registered, created a login, or requested information with the typical info at email, or downloaded a case study. Those are typical lead generation. Then there are the branding websites, where again you will have different metrics. The most important, I think, on a branding website is the average time on site. You want to know how many time does the visitor interact with my brand, with my website in the end. But you can also look to how many pages did he do, how deep did he go in my website, are they returning, do the visitors return, etc., etc. So all those things, just to repeat that it is extremely important not only to generate traffic on your website, but then in function and based on the specific goals of your website to analyze this behavior with the final intention, of course, to go back to this phase and modify the entry, the traffic generating tools. The same could be said for SEO. Now we're going to stay on the SEA parts. All right. Good. Now, very specific. you first, if you want to do everything what we're going to analyze now and what we're going to see in the next 20 minutes, there is one important aspect. You need to link effectively your AdWords account with your analytics account. This is possible in Google. Those are, of course, both Google tools. So Google provided the possibility of integrate both tools. Basically, everything what will be said here can be done also with another web analytics tool. The only interesting part here is that when you are using two Google products, there is this possibility of integrating both tools. Okay, how do you link both tools? First of all, I'm sorry, the slides are a little bit old. For those who are using AdWords now, you all know there is a new interface. Those are still old interface slides, but the principle is exactly the same. So you start with, if you want to link both accounts, to go to the Analytics tab in your AdWords account, and there very easily you will see that the system is proposing you either to create an Analytics account if you don't have yet one, either to link this AdWords account with an existing Analytics account. And if you have, if you are a user of many different Analytics accounts, you will have a scroll down, making it possible to select the one that you want to link. Now, three important aspects. First, you need to be administrator of the Analytics account, and with the same login as your AdWords account. This is a very important thing. Second, you can only link one Analytics account to one AdWords account. Actually, I'm lying. Actually, you can link many AdWords accounts to one Analytics account, only you will have then to give me a phone call. Actually, or another power user, like we call it, Analytics power user at Google. So there is a possibility, but yourself you can't do it. And then a third aspect is don't link an Analytics account to an MCC. An MCC is My Client Center, which is some kind of shelf AdWords account. Don't link it to that shelf account, link it to the specific accounts, specific AdWords accounts itself. So this is the first part, the specific linking. Then there are two manipulations you have to do in the settings that are also very important. There is the fact of enabling auto-tagging. I will immediately give some words of explanation. And then applying cost data. Enabling the auto-tagging is something that you do in the settings of your AdWords account. The cost data is something that you do in the analytics tab. Okay. Auto-tagging, without going too much into technical details, because honestly, I don't even know myself. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a real technical specialist. But let's say the fundament of auto-tagging is that it is a URL modification. If you enable auto-tagging, then once someone will click on one of your AdWords ads, the landing page, the URL of the landing page will be modified, or actually there will be some string of data added to this URL that will make it possible to the analytics software to recognize what is the source of the visit. You will have this little string of data, which is typically it will be in the form as at the end of, if you have www.blablabla.com/ and then you have the what is called the Google Click ID, GCLID, I think interrogation mark, and then few numbers and data. And so the analytics software is going to read this URL and can recognize, aha, this visit is coming from that AdWords account, from that campaign, even from that original query. This is, yes. This will make it possible, like you know, in analytics you can also have different profiles. You have a lot of data in analytics, and the profiles makes it possible to focus immediately on a specific set of data you predefine. And maybe you might want to only have AdWords data getting in a specific profile and not in another one. So this cost data makes it possible to choose in which profiles you will have the AdWords data injected. Say it in a simple way. Anyway, those are two important things you have to do, the auto-tagging and the cost data, to integrate both. Okay, this is basically what I've said. Now let's have a look to few reports that I think are interesting in analytics. You have so many reports in analytics. And another aspect, or another important point is that sometimes you can get to the same set of data through different filters or different ways. You can have the same. I will not focus too much on these things, just to inspire you, to give you an idea, and always keep in mind the three first aspects that we defined that are so important for Google AdWords. First of all, there is the search engine report, which is it's one of the sources. Typically, when you look to the sources, the search engine report makes it possible, of course, to see from which search engines there is traffic getting in, Yahoo, Bing, Google. But then again, you can also, here, it's difficult to find actually, but here you have the option to choose either total, either paid, either unpaid. So when you look to unpaid, this means, and you go on keyword level also, here you have the different dimensions. You go on keyword level and you choose unpaid here. This means what the report is going to show you all the queries that have led through actually organic results to your website. And you have the same for paid. So those are all the queries that have stimulated the impression of an ad on which someone has clicked and ended up on your website. Okay, another interesting report, if you want to look more specifically to the paid traffic, so it means coming from AdWords, is the AdWords campaign report. Here again, actually, basically what you will see here, most of these data here in blue are the data that you also will find in your AdWords interface. Only the interesting part here is that you can choose, first of all, you have also the information about visits that you don't have in AdWords, but you also can choose in function of your goals and your e-commerce that you set it in analytics. Just a very short word about this. In analytics, you can define, just like, or let me first say that, just like in AdWords, you can also do conversion tracking, where you generate a little piece of code that you're going to place on a specific page, and you can measure how many people got to that page. You can do the same in analytics, but much more specifically, because in analytics you can really go analyze the whole funnel until the visitor ended up in the specific goal that you determined. So if you determine these goals, you can, for the dimensions, like here, the dimension of the campaigns, you see here the different AdWords campaigns, you can see the different performances of the campaigns, and again you can go at ad group level or end up at keyword level. You also see here you have the different views. This view I find quite interesting because it's very intuitive, visual. It's going to actually compare, in this case, the performance of the campaigns, compare with the average. So you see immediately that this first campaign is performing very well, and the others actually less than the average. The bounce rate report is, for example, a typical report that will be useful for a branding website. And if you take a bounce rate report, and don't forget we are here still we are really in the paid. So we are analyzing here the performances of the different keywords in your campaigns. The performance is now measured in function of the bounce rate. So this means someone that did query volunteer in this case, saw your ad, clicked on this ad, ended on your website, what is the bounce rate of that kind of visitor? So we see that, of course, in bounce rate, the lower the bounce rate, the better. You know, bounce rate are the number of people, percentage of people that are leaving your website after only, or having seen only one page. So the lower this percentage, the better. And so you see here immediately which keywords have the lowest bounce rate compared to the average. Quite interesting for the optimization. We will see immediately later how. And then this one is also a quite interesting report which has been developed only 2 years ago. It's the keyword position report. You know that in AdWords there are always maximum 3 ads on top of the natural results, and then maximum 8 ads on the right side. Now, interesting thing about this keyword position report is that you again can go measure the different performances in function of the goals of your website, but then related to the different positions. So you can see for keywords here, volunteer, every time that the keyword, so the query volunteer, triggered an ad getting in first position, well, we saw that the average time on site was of 3 minutes and 20 seconds. This is very interesting because you maybe know that in AdWords you have the possibility also to determine a preferable position. And especially from an ROI perspective, this can be sometimes very interesting because everyone thinks that the first position is the best. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it isn't also, because when you go analyzing, for example, how many sales, or what was the average value of the sales of someone that entered through the first position could be lower than for those who entered through the fourth position. There are sometimes very strange semi-psychological mechanisms that work there, and again it's difficult to determine it in advance. You can only know these things when you analyze very large amounts of data. And knowing that it is cheaper to have your ad on a fourth position, for example, than on a first position, you could specify in AdWords that you would like to appear only on the fourth position, that way paying less and still having a bigger average value. No, yeah, this you don't have to create it yourself. You just go to source AdWords campaigns, and there you will find under keyword position report. So you don't have to manipulate anything. Okay, so now you've done all this analysis, but then you still have to make the effective changes. Of course, you made some interesting conclusions. And you have to change your AdWords campaigns. Now, this is just a little slide I create myself to resume the situation. Remember the beginning of the presentation. The three very important and specific aspects where you have big flexibility in AdWords. The keywords, which are the potential queries you can appear on. The ad content and the landing page. And then you have all the data in analytics. And so in function of the analysis you're going to do here, you are going to modify these things, all right? These three dimensions, let's call it AdWords related dimensions. This is the objective. This is the objective. Now, okay, so like I said, at a certain moment, you have to modify, you have to change something in your AdWords account. So, very concrete. It's a bit naive here to write this down, but this is what we have to do. Either you export it in Excel, either you work with your AdWords editor for those who know the tool. But this is what we have to do. And the point is, like we're going to see immediately, once you have the conclusion, you know which keywords are performing the best. Again, in function of your original goals. For a branding website, you're going to look to the average time on site. For an e-commerce, you're going to look to the sales. So you know what are the best performing keywords. So it's very logic that you want to promote these keywords. How to promote these keywords? Increasing the cost per click. Very easy, very naive, but that is how it happens. Maybe you will also define a number of keywords that are performing very badly. Well, just take them away. Again, very easy, but you have to do it. Maybe also you want to add keywords. Then you can use the search engine report, for example, to have inspiration about what are people searching for. It's a good way to find inspiration to add new keywords. Either you will have to add the ad text, to adapt the ad text, refine ad scheduling, and refine geo-targeting. On these three aspects we're going to focus now immediately. Alright, this basically is actually what I've already said. Adjust the bidding, increase the CPCs on the best performing keywords, decrease on the worst, take away those that are costing too much and have no results, always in function of your initial goals. Find new keywords with the different reports, especially the search engine report. And there is also this site search report. I will not go into details, but if you have a website with the search functionality, analytics gives also the possibility to analyze the different queries that are done on your website. They're also interesting source of inspiration for potential queries on Google. And okay, then there is also, again, under the sources, you will find the ad content or ad variation report, where you can see for the specific ad texts that are in your Google campaigns, again, what are the different performances. There's only one, I think, little negative point until now, is that these ad variations are represented only by the first line of your ad text. So you have to make sure that you have ad texts that are always differing, at least in the first line, to be able to make the distinction between the different ads. Maybe it's going to change also, and we will have the full ads appearing in this report. Again, interesting just to know what are the performances of the different ad texts. And then this one is an interesting one. You can also, and here we are not on the sources, but we are on the visitors, specific on the visits. And you can make an analysis if you choose. I know it's not on the screenshot, but you can basically you can choose days, weeks, or even hours. And this is the hour report of the visits. And so we see very clearly that for this website, most of the visits are coming between, what is it, 10 o'clock and 16 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you can maybe even compare what is the situation in the week, what is the situation in the weekend. Why is this interesting? Again, because in AdWords, you have the ad scheduling functionality. I will show you immediately a screenshot. Another aspect, I'm going a little bit faster, but this is very easy, very intuitive. You can also analyze from a geographical point of view where your visitors come from. Again, interesting, because in AdWords you have the location targeting function. So here you see the location targeting, here the ad scheduling. And doing this, again, you can limit your costs and focus much more on the interesting either places, either moments throughout the day or the week. Very fast, just few things about the data discrepancies. I get a lot of phone calls of advertisers asking me why is the amount of visits in my analytic report different of the amounts of clicks. This is a typical question I get all the time. You have to know that a click is not a visit. A visit is a number of unique sessions initiated by a visitor. Okay, what is a session? A session is initiated from the moment a visitor gets on a website that is tracked with Google Analytics. There is a little cookie dropped on his computer, and this cookie has I mean, there are actually many cookies in Analytics, but now I'm talking about what we call a session cookie. This cookie has a lifetime of 30 minutes. All right? So it means that after this, the session is ended. So this means that if someone clicks on my ad, gets on the website, and then gets away, goes back to Google, for example, makes few other searches, and clicks again, still within these 30 minutes on an ad of my campaign, there will be many clicks, 2 clicks, but still one session, as long as it is within the lifetime of this cookie. So this is a first thing to keep in mind. At the same time, or just the same will be, but then the opposite. You could have someone that gets on your website, bookmarks your website, and then later on, during another session, comes back to your website without clicking on an ad, but just going through the bookmark. So you will have 1 click and 2 sessions in this case. Or then the typical also, it takes some time before this cookie, because the tag is at the end of the page, so the page needs to load completely before you get the cookie. So if someone doesn't wait until the page completely loaded and just goes away, you will have no visit. But if it happens that this person actually got first on your website through an ad, you will have one click but no visits. This is also another, and then you have also the filters in AdWords that filters invalid clicks, but still you will see this as visits in Google Analytics. So those are typical reasons why there are discrepancies between visits and clicks. Then the period, I'm almost finished. The period, this is actually not a data discrepancy, this is just an error in analysis. Another typical error, you're looking to different periods. For example, you look to the number of conversions in AdWords and you compare it to the Google Conversions Analytics, but you have another period in your AdWords as, you can always select last month or specific last week. You have another period in AdWords in Analytics, so of course there are completely different numbers. This is not even data discrepancy, it's just error in analysis. And then you have again also the principle of the cookies that are set for conversion tracking. The cookie for conversion tracking in AdWords has a lifetime of 30 days. And in Analytics, I told you about the goals. There it's another kind of cookie. There are actually in total 4 kinds of cookies in Analytics. And there the cookies can have a lifetime between 6 months and 2 years. So if someone converts after 30 days, you won't see the conversion in AdWords, you will see it in Analytics with again the same confusion, let's say, as answer. So that's it. Conclusion and takeaways. It's not only essential to drive the traffic, but also to analyze the behavior. Why analyze the behavior? Because you need to evaluate the traffic, the quality of your traffic, and this evaluation of the quality always happens based on the specific goals of your website, and data discrepancies will always exist.